Stephanie Dobson is back with us this week on Primetime Local News. And Stephanie, as usual, we are talking about things related to separation and divorce. And today we're going to be talking about dividing up a household when people are going through separation or the divorce process. One of the terms that they use is household contents. Can you tell me what that encompasses?
Sure. So most people, when they think of household goods, they think of things that are on the inside of their house. So things like kitchen items, bedroom contents, living room contents, maybe art on your wall, memorabilia collections, that sort of thing. But it can even encompass things like appliances, things in your garage, sheds, outbuildings, lawn furniture, collectibles, on the outside, decorative things, and that sort of thing. So in separation and divorce, when we're looking to divide up your household contents, typically what we do is we take all of those types of things that maybe one on their own might not be very much money, but in value, but on the whole, they end up being quite a lot of value.
And so when this starts to happen, Stephanie, when is the time to think about when you should be doing this and some of the things that you should be going through?
Sure. So families can divide their household contents when they're separating. They can divide it any time. There's usually two steps to any division. So the first step is the planning for the division, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. And then second, there's the actual division, the physical division of those household contents. So there's no magic as to when this second step of physically dividing the contents occurs. Sometimes if one spouse ends up leaving the home and moving into a new residence, they may not have the opportunity to take everything with them. Their new place might be furnished, or it may not be big enough to take the things that they would really ideally like to take. But just because someone leaves the home without having done the full and final division of household contents doesn't mean that they can't come back later to do that division. It's just best to do it as soon as possible.
And if people are having to go through this process, Stephanie, can you give me a step-by-step guide as to the best way to plan it out so there's some order to it?
Sure. So I've grouped it into four categories. So the first one is to create a master list of everything that is in your home. So you'd go through room by room and you'd create that list. Second, you're going to want to value all of your items. So this would be how much an item would be sold for, not its replacement value. Now, there's a number of different ways that you can go about trying to value these items. Some will be very easy to value and other things will be a little bit more difficult. If you and your spouse can do this together and go through the list and value everything as a team, that would be ideal. It creates less conflict. But if you're not able to do that, you may want to each put the value that you think is appropriate and then compare notes later. Third, you want to pick who is going to keep what. So there's lots of different ways to go about this. And of course, we're only going to have a little snapshot today. But the first thing that I recommend that you do is to go through that list and pick the things that ideally each one of you would want to keep. When you go through the list afterward, there's inevitably going to be some things that each of you want to keep exclusively, and then there's going to be some overlap. So then we take the items that are the overlap, and you're going to want to figure out how to go through and pick who is actually going to keep what when both of you say you'd like to keep it. So here's some examples. You can have you pick one thing and then your spouse pick the next thing, and you go alternating until you've come up with all the items have now been divided. You can have one spouse pick a list of make a list of all of those items and divide it into two, and then the other spouse gets to pick who wants which list. There's list A and list B. And so anyway, it can get very complicated, but there's lots of different ways that you can do it. The fourth thing you want to do is to equalize the value of the household goods between the two of you. So now you've got a whole list of spouse. The wife is going to keep this list of things, and the husband is going to keep this list of things. When you total up the value of everything, you want to make sure that the lists are balanced. If they're not balanced, what we need to do is we need to create that balance by either putting some things from this list over here, or there might need to be a cash equalization to cause those lists to be equal.
Now, Stephanie, what happens if the people involved decide that they don't actually want to do this? If they don't want to value and list things, then what do you do?
It really is a headache to go through the whole house for sure. And lots of clients that come in to see me say, "Oh, I am not going to go through the house and do a whole list." Some people, when they've come, by the time they've come to see me, they've done their own division of their household contents. And lots of times, what I do is I'll make sure that from my client's point of view that they feel that the household contents have been divided equally. Now, whatever equal means in their mind, as long as they feel that it's equal, I have to do that test of making sure that on the value side it's equal. But as long as there's equality between the spouses for household items, I typically don't get involved in the actual list making.
All right, Stephanie, well, this has been some great information. Always so much to think about when going through this process. So thanks so much for joining us this week, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stacey.